Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So, the Friday tradition, a day early because we have the July 4th holiday tomorrow. It's obviously July 3rd, but markets are closed in observance of the holiday on Saturday. Uh, short week this week, and we are getting close to earnings season, but not quite there yet. And this coming week, actually, arguably even slower from a scheduled news perspective than this past week. Uh, so, uh, Very much looking forward to earnings, but also going to have to wait. All right. So, Monday before the open and after the close, there's actually not a single company scheduled to report. Before the open on Tuesday, Paychecks, and uh, this is priced in 475. Those are monthly options. I Not sure that I've ever actually talked about Paychex because I can't remember the last time I even traded this. It is a good sized company, but it's really not an earnings trade story typically. Historically, really not much of a mover. Stuck underneath some resistance here at the 200A. And I think, honestly, like the only reason why it may get some attention is because it's actually like the only company scheduled on Tuesday. Um, I don't know personally if that warrants putting a trade on just because it's the only company scheduled, but I just wanted to put on your radar because it actually is the only company scheduled Tuesday before the open. After the bell, kind of similar, Levi. The only name on the radar or on the calendar there, dollar and a half. Those are monthly options. Um, if I feel like this has been a pretty disappointing IPO, and retail has been kind of tough over the past few months. There's been a lot of outperforming retail, then a lot of underperforming, and obviously this falls in the underperforming category. Expectations, I'd have to guess, are pretty low. Um, and if the numbers aren't as bad as feared, maybe you see it start to work back up into like the 15, 16 area. But I haven't really traded this much in the past, and I don't really like the setup. There's other retailers that move more consistently that are kind of similar patterns to this, and I feel like I'd rather focus on those than this one. All right, Wednesday before the open, nothing of interest. After the bell on Wednesday, I guess maybe the most interesting setup of the week, arguably, Bed Bath and Beyond. $1.70 is what's expected on this. So this has shown some outperformance versus other brick and mortar names, which you can clearly see here. And I think that kind of opens the chart up for potentially, a move, a pretty good move higher because there's like a gap above the 13 area, and then the huge move off the low could kind of set up like a sharper drop if the numbers disappoint. It has historically had some real big moves on earnings too, which is also a good sign. And also, over half the float is short, so that also kind of contributes there. So I think this one sets up well for a volatility strategy. I think that the options leave a little bit of room. All right, before the open on Thursday, Helen of Troy. About 17 points is what's expected on this. Those are monthly options. Very consistent, uh, good numbers. Very consistent mover as well. I guess the bigger issue I have with Helen of Troy is not necessarily that it isn't like an earnings play because it does tend to move. It's just after the run it's had, some of these staple companies have kind of run out of gas after they've gotten back towards their 52-week high. So options aren't cheap, but maybe if I can get risk down, maybe look to see if it has like just finishes the job and gets back to just retest that February top. But I mean the numbers overall over the last year have been very strong. Stock is acting strong, and it seems like there may be a little bit more left in the tank, but I have to get risk down because those options are on the high side. All right. Also, Thursday for the open, Walgreens. So this is the biggest name of the week. About 2.5 points is what's priced in. It so this and CVS have been acting kind of lousy. They're not really in play at the moment. Rite Aid, I'm still kind of smarting about because closed out of the calls right before earnings, and then it popped really sharply on earnings. I mean, CVS numbers were okay. Rite Aid's numbers were okay. So I definitely be expecting Walgreens numbers to be okay. The stock has just been stuck in this lower range though. So I think it would have to be a combination of a good number and then like a good move above 45 to kind of clear this lower resistance range, and then it could be in business. So the way I guess I would approach it would be either wait and see how the numbers go and then hop in for a quick trade after, like if it gets up into like 45, 45.50, or maybe something longer dated, just because it hasn't really had a very big earnings move in a while. So I think anything would either have to be like longer term or revolve around like the stock really starting to move. And then after the close on Thursday is Price Smart. And to be honest, these options, they're priced in about 6 points. Those are monthly, but they're very thin and very illiquid. Not to mention the stock is pretty illiquid as well. So it's the um, it's the Costco of Latin America, is what it's called. Uh, but the options are tougher. So I mean, it does occasionally move like once every like 2 to 3 quarters, but I always find it challenging because the option spreads are so wide and there's not a lot of volume. So as much as like I think that there could be some potential, it's just like the really thin options are probably going to keep me away from it. And that's it because there's nothing really on Friday morning. So really only like a handful of names, and of those names, only maybe like 1 to 2 that seem interesting to me. So still kind of light, but like we started to see this past week, could see some unscheduled guidance. Actually, I would be surprised if we didn't see some unscheduled guidance this coming week. So I'll be keeping my eye out for that. All right. So have a wonderful long holiday weekend. Happy 4th of July. Safe travels. Just hope you have a safe weekend in general. Um, and before you know it, earnings season will be here. So lots to look forward to, all right? So again, enjoy the weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.